Hi everyone, my name is Richard Santoro and I welcome you to Third and Zen, the YouTube channel where every week I'm sharing a spiritual message to nourish ourselves, heart, mind, body, and soul. First, thank you for stopping by the channel. Thanks for checking out today's video. I do hope that this video finds you doing well. I hope that you're remembering and taking the time to care for yourself, heart, mind, body, and soul. I hope you're remembering that you're worthy of care in all those aspects holistically of who you are and in your path of life and in your journey. So please take the time to care for yourself. And again, thanks for stopping by the channel. If you like liking, subscribing, sharing, very much appreciated. But either way, thanks for stopping by. With that said, let's all take a nice deep breath. Let's take a moment and just still ourselves. Just find our center. Remember that there's nowhere where we have to be. The world is going to continue to spin on its axis while we just sit and be and listen. So just take a moment, take a breath, get yourself comfortable in your chair or wherever you happen to be, and maybe loosen any tension that you might be holding in your shoulders, your posture. Readjust, stretch if you need to. Feel like closing your eyes, if you feel like taking some deep breaths. Releasing any tension you have in your face, your brow, your jaw. Just allow yourself to be present. Allow yourself to be right here, fully present, as best as we can be. Let's get started with today's message, shall we? So, last week I dropped a video, the Gospel of Captain America and Norman Rockwell. Now, I promise you, it did not drive me crazy that I had that Captain America statue down there, unbeknownst to me, or I forgot it, and rather in the video, I didn't think about it once while I was delivering the sermon and thinking, oh, I wish that was in there. Yes, it did cross my mind, but I let it go, and there's Captain America now. So anyway, I digress. I shared a message. And that message was one, and I'll post a link to that. It'll be here if you want to go watch that. And basically, that was a message that I delivered after the 2016 presidential election in our country, which was a time of great divisiveness, time of great ugliness in our society, and we still have not fully healed or mended ourselves, and we weren't doing stellar before that election, and we clearly still have some issues in our society that need caring for and tending to and course correcting. And as I mentioned in my introduction to that message, I almost didn't share that message on this channel verbatim. I almost pivoted from it and just talked about it. But I looked over the message and said, no, I like it. I love it. I want to share it. And it's still, much of it, it still pertains. And I stand by that. And as I alluded to towards the end of that message, and this isn't a spoiler or anything, that it wasn't an easy message to share. It wasn't an easy choice to make, to deliver that message as opposed to a nice, soft, normal, happy sermon. Everybody goes home smiling from church. And now on this YouTube channel, I can do what I want. I can say what I want without encumbrances, without hindrances, without worrying about anybody as they walk out of the church after a worship service and I say good morning and goodbye to them and you know, maybe they have a ruffled brow, or maybe during the week I might hear about it, or just in general, you know, people might like it, but they hold this view that politics do not belong at the pulpit. They hold this view that we're not allowed to talk about social issues. We have this, I'm not going to say we, many people have this ideology that there is this box that they have labeled politics, and they put things in that box and say, do not touch, do not talk about it. It has no place in church, has no place at the pulpit. And while these are conversations to have, the Gospels say differently. Anybody can have any sort of point of view or relationship with Jesus that they want. They can. I'm not gonna say that somebody can't have a relationship or a point of view. But the one question I will always ask is, I didn't really ask these people in ministry because it wasn't appropriate, or I didn't feel like I wanted to take that approach. But the question is always, well, have you read the Gospels? Have you read Scripture? Have you read the Old and New Testament? Have you read the journey of the relationship of humanity with one another and with God? Have you read about the relationship with Jesus, with God in the form of Jesus, the relationship that God in the form of Jesus took with humanity during Jesus' time here in the flesh on this earth with people? Have you read the Gospels? Have you seen what Jesus did and said? Obviously, I would never have said that to people, but that's the question. Have you looked at the Gospels? Have you looked at what Jesus was about? Because it wasn't just about Christmas trees and Santa Claus and gifts and lights on our houses and Dean Martin singing "Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow." And it wasn't about Easter Sundays being chocolate and rabbits and flowers and lilies and big songs and Easter hats and everybody going to church. And it wasn't just about all those things, which are beautiful. I'm not knocking them, to be clear. I'm being slightly facetious. Jesus' ministry was very much about a lot of things. Yes, hope and faith and love and belief. But Jesus, the individual that walked this earth like we do, when we read the Gospels, when we engage in a relationship with Jesus who exists in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, when we engage in a relationship with Jesus that exists based upon the letters of St. Paul and the letters of others, we get a very, very crystal clear, unequivocal picture and image of Jesus that says, I'm going to go to the political, social, religious, and cultural leaders who are all wrapped up into one and say, yeah, this isn't right. This isn't just. This isn't how we should be doing things. This needs to change. These people are being harmed. These people are continually wetting their beaks and taking from the haves and the have-nots. And this is not what God intended for his children. This is not what God intended for God's children. This is not the relationship we should have with God and with one another. This is how society should be politically, socially, culturally, religiously, all of it. Whatever labels we like to use. In the end, Jesus was very, 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 very much about, hey, I'm calling you to a life away from injustice and a life with me that is a life of eternal life, that is a life of accepting you for exactly who you are and loving you unconditionally, but it's also a life of saying, hey, that person needs your help. We all need to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. We need to stand up and say and do. And if you're hearing this and you're a little skeptical, I'd invite you to go read the Gospels and we can have a conversation and we can look at Scripture and say, okay, well, what was he doing there then? If he wasn't teaching and preaching at the pulpit per se, again, just for lack of a better term, about politics, social issues, cultural issues, religious issues, to say, hey, this isn't just a wispy, idyllic sermon that somebody might hear on a Sunday and then go home, go to have, cake and coffee with the other church people and then we all go home happy. No, sometimes it's about saying, hey, people need help. Hey, this is wrong and we need to change. So I delivered a sermon like this and others that said, and as many people, as many clergy have through all denominations, as many rabbis have, as many imams have, as many, leaders of spiritual ilks and faiths and traditions have and said no, because it's not just confined to Christianity. There's a tradition that runs throughout all of the larger and smaller religions, be it, as I referred to, Judaism or Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism or any of them, where it's not just about who we are at our core and how we relate to the transcendent, the divine, however we define it, however we term it, God. It is also how we relate to one another. It is also how we love our neighbor. It is also how we exact and live out the golden rule, which all of the faith traditions share, the golden rule. It is a universal truth that transcends religion, type, and denomination, all of it, all of them. So all of them have this idea of, we need to live an active love life, an active love life. That totally is not how I mean that. We need to live a love that is a verb, that treats others with that agape love, that has the Greek word agape, that love that is selfless, that is giving, the love that is just, the love that says these people need help, these powers that be are corrupt or wrong or unjust, we just need to fix and change. So, politics at the pulpit. Again, I would invite anybody that wants to look at Jesus of the Gospels. Now, my denomination from birth has been Methodism. It's how I was born and raised. My mom and dad happened to meet at a Methodist youth gathering. My mom still is, my mom was born and raised in the Methodist tradition. My grandmother's on both sides Methodist. So I'm Methodist through and through. I don't limit myself to that box alone with having, Eastern philosophy tendencies, Buddhist tendencies, but at my core, I know my identity is very much wrapped up in Methodism. It is where I served in my church that I was born and raised at. It is where I led and did my ministry and my service work. So Methodists, where I preached that "No, You Move" sermon, it was well received, to be clear. It was very well received. You oftentimes only have one or two people that weren't thrilled with it. But if we're just looking at Methodism for a second, Methodism, like many denominations, whether it's Catholicism or even, not that it's a Christian denomination, but Judaism, go look at the civil rights movement and who was at the forefront and who was on the front lines of those. I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister, so politics at the pulpit, yeah, pretty obvious. But Methodism, like a lot of religious bodies, care very much. I mean, Methodists, we have this beautiful, I love this so much. And in my church, I always wanted to do a symposium on this, but it never happened. And sadly, it was something that not a lot of people were eager for. Social principles, talking about how we are to care for our society, the natural world and the social world and the economic world and the political community and the world community. These are the table of contents. So we care very, very, very much about that, or at least based on the Gospels and the teaching, life, and ministry and acts and everydays of Jesus, we ought to care, and care as a verb, as an active action. So, now, I just want to, again, this is a follow-up to that message. So this is just speaking from the heart, some thoughts I had, because as I said in that message, the Gospel of Captain America and Norman Rockwell, "No, You Move," as I said, I almost didn't share that message on YouTube. I almost instead talked about the message, which is basically what I'm doing now. Now, what I found in my meditations and reflections, preparing myself to share that message on YouTube, and when I was thinking about which way to go, were the similarities between Jesus and the aforementioned Captain America. And stick with me here for a second. As I have pointed out to us, Jesus is very misunderstood by many Christians in today's society, just as Jesus was very misunderstood by the individuals that he encountered during his time and his ministry. Jesus, the Messiah, Hebrew word, Greek word Christ, English translation Anointed One. The title of Messiah in Judaism then, they were waiting for a Messiah. And the identity of what they thought that individual would be was more of a fiery reincarnation, so to speak, of King David, the warrior king. And when he wasn't, when instead what he was an individual who rode into Jerusalem not on a conquering horse, but on a humble donkey, when he was someone that said, hey, love your neighbor. That's the most important thing. Hey, I require mercy, not sacrifice. A lot of people are like, no, you're not the type we want. You're not the Messiah we want. And likewise, and I know this is a tenuous thread, but I'm good with it. Jesus, the Messiah, who is peace and a social reformer rather than a patriotic warrior king out to conquer and rule, the identity that some people want to be. Captain America, I mean, just look at the guy. Red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes, all of it. And there are people that would look at Captain America as this uber patriot. But when you read Captain America in the comic books and even, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie iterations, one of the defining traits about Captain America is not this uber patriot, but rather a social reformer who, during his time and his storylines, would break away from the United States government, and when they felt they were doing something wrong, when he felt that politics and social issues, when things were wrong, he'd say, no, I'm not aligning with that. I think things need to change. And I think that, yeah, I drew the connection between Jesus and Captain America. And why do I do that? Because in the end, it just helps illustrate that sometimes we have an idea and an identity, and it's often built in a bubble of comfort, where we want things to be soft and easy and insulated and isolated, and just my little comfort world, and the outside world doesn't bother me. And that maybe that includes social media and Facebook. Maybe that includes conversations at the dinner table. Maybe that includes politics at the pulpit, or a video, or any type of worship type setting. But that's not how God would want it, based upon a reading of Scripture and a relationship and engagement with Scripture, with the Gospels, with the Jesus of the Gospels, with the St. Paul of the New Testament, with 2,000 years of Christians standing up and saying, no, you move, no, this is wrong, no, we need to do better. 2,000 years of people modeling themselves after the model and example of Christ to be advocates and facilitators of justice where there's injustice, of active love and caring where there's hate and bigotry. So if anyone ever wants to say, no, there shouldn't be politics at the pulpit, no, Jesus wasn't like that, I would say maybe we ought to read the Gospels. It's a wonderful thing to do in general, and it's a wonderful way for us to have a relationship with Jesus, and it's a wonderful way for us to discover what he was about in his daily living and journey. And that's not just for our own edification or education or knowledge, but for our journey going forward, to be better models and examples of the living and the teachings of Christ, and better stewards of this world that is God's world. Thanks be to God. Amen. Okay, my friends, I want to thank you again for stopping by the channel and checking out today's video. I do hope that this video finds you doing well. If you feel like liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff, I'd appreciate it. But I wish you peace on your journey. I wish you fellowship with God. I wish you comfort, healing, or whatever it is you might need in this moment or in the days to come or in life in general. Just remember, please, that you are worthy of love, care, understanding, affection, kindness, and all the beauty that God's world has to offer. Don't forget how worthy and important and valuable you are, and how loved you are and deserving of all of it. Okay, again, thanks for stopping by. Have a great day. Have a great journey. Love you all. Ciao.